live in a little village called Nether Haugh, which is in Rotherham. Lived there for just over 2 years now. It's a quiet little village, it's 40 houses in total. It's on a stretch of road, on a B road that's just under half a mile long. Recently we've had cars lose control in the village and start to crash into properties, and one of the properties is our property that's actually been hit 4 times so far this year, and done structural damage to the building. Now it's, like I say, the road, it's just under half a mile long. It's a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit through the village. It's quite bendy roads. They're all 17th and 18th century buildings, so they're all big old stone buildings, and there's pavements between obviously the road and the houses, and people are losing control, mounting the pavement and then hitting property, hitting walls, going through fields, fences and things like that. This is obviously affecting us psychologically, I suppose. First of all, because we bought the house because it's a nice area to live. Can be quite enviable as well because of where it is, how nice it looks and how nice it should look, and we're having people ruin it for us, and at the minute it does look a bit of a mess because we've got piles of stone everywhere, and it's also dangerous because there are all these cars that are actually mounting the pavement. All it needs is a pedestrian between the car and the wall, and either seriously injured or more likely that someone's going to be killed. And because of the environment and the area that we live in, it's very rural, and there's a lot of historical buildings and monuments nearby. We do get a lot of hikers that should be coming through. They tend not to anymore because obviously they realise just how dangerous it is. The last impact that we've had with our house was a car actually mounted the pavement with all 4 wheels and went square onto a part of the house that is part of the bathroom, and actually knocked the wall from the outside to inside the bathroom, so it's done internal damage as well this time. But, it's not just the damage to the property, it's an unsafe area to walk through. So I live there with my wife and I've got 2 kids. We just don't use the pavements because you never know who's going to lose control, who's going to mount the pavement, and what can happen. It's just recently, there has been history in the past, but nothing like there is now. There's been 16 so far this year, and there's been nothing happened since beginning of March. So within the first 9-10 weeks, there's been 16 incidents on just under half a mile stretch of road. Well, volume in traffic increases every day, every week, and at first we thought it might be the condition of the road, but it is purely down to speeding drivers just going too fast around the bends and losing control. We've asked the local council to do a surface friction test, and the reports come back saying at the moment the surface of the road is fine. Whether it's close to not being fine, I don't know, but that's what we've been told. And obviously we've been in discussions with the local council to try and get something done about it, but up to yet we've not had a great deal of success with that. The thing with the council and the government's legislation is for anything major to be done, i.e. fixed speed cameras or average speed cameras, and they work to a certain criteria, and that criteria has to be met before things like that can be installed. And the criteria is either 3 serious injuries or 1 fatality in a 3-year period. So until we have 3 serious injuries or a fatality, nothing permanent will be done, which is ridiculous really. It needs to be preventative rather than finding the cure, trying to stop it after, and that's what we're trying to do. We've asked to try and get average speed cameras, because then people have to stick to the speed limit through the village, but because we don't meet this legislation yet, or because no one has died, we can't have them. So at the minute all we've got is some, I think it's about 1 metre tall plastic, black and white plastic posts that have got reflective strips on either sides, and that's it. Because what they've seen in the pictures that we show them, it's not really official. And the police, although the police attend every incident, because vehicles have to be recovered as the road gets closed, it doesn't get reported as an official accident until there is an injury, i.e. somebody has to go to hospital. So out of the 15 that we've had so far this year, I think 4 people had to go to hospital, but no injuries were classed as serious. And so a lot of the accidents are, I suppose you could say, aren't official accidents because it's us that's witnessing them and there's no official reports going through. No. In all cases that we've actually that's caused damage that's been fairly serious, we've had to go through his own insurance company. Luckily so far, they've been able to recoup their costs and their losses via the third parties involved. But obviously it will affect our insurance premium, so it's going to have a financial effect on us short term, but also long term potentially as well, because if we ever look at either trying to sell the house to move or whatever, then it's going to be difficult. Yeah, potentially. When we first bought the house, it is a house that we wanted to live in, but we also bought it thinking, well, is it potentially an investment property? And yes, it should be because of the area that it's in. But all the time, as accidents happen, we're trying to get things done. So there is publicity about it. Some would class it as negative publicity, but we're using the publicity to try and get the council to act and do something. But then obviously there are people currently trying to sell the houses and they are struggling, and we're now thinking that when we come to sell ours, it's probably not going to be worth the money it should be because of what's happening on the road. Well, we think that the council should take us seriously, and the information that we're providing them with, take them seriously. They're using various statistics on speed measurements, and the average speed going through the village is 34.7 miles an hour apparently. It's a 30 mile an hour limit, so the average car that goes through the village is breaking the law. Because of how the village is set out, it's awkward for them to have temporary speed cameras, so they can't really check it that way. And they need to look at the legislation, or the government needs to look at the legislation and the guidelines that say, well, why should you wait for someone to be killed to do something? If it was a business, there'd be risk assessments done and say, well, this could potentially happen. What can we do to prevent this from happening? And that's what we're asking them to do before someone is seriously injured or loses their life. Let's put something in place to curb the speeding, basically, and they won't at the moment. Obviously, they've got the financial side of it to think of, which all the councils at the minute are on a very tight budget, and they have mentioned the money side of things quite a few times to us as well. It is, yeah. There's the council. We've put various ideas to the council, and they've come back with reasons why we can't do this, why we can't have speed humps, why we can't have average speed cameras. They've never come to us with any alternatives as this is what you can do, this is what we suggest you do. And it is really down to the fact that A, they don't want to spend their money, or we think A, they don't want to spend their money, and B, they don't want to admit that there is an actual problem. If they do admit that there's a problem, then they've got to do something about it. And I don't know whether they'll have any comebacks from insurance companies saying, you knew about this, you didn't do anything, you need to, and I don't know if they're going to be liable for any costs then incurred by the insurance companies, but obviously that's in their minds. So we've set up a community partnership, an official community partnership, and trying to get everybody within the village to work closely with us so we can keep putting things forward. We've had meetings, and we're still having meetings with the police commissioners, with local MPs and with the council, and we just keep campaigning now to get something done. We've all the main people within the partnership have recently had letters from our local MP with a copy of a letter that he's received from the council, basically saying that because of the road, it's classed as a trunk road. that they can't put speed bumps down because ambulances have to use it, and because because we've not met the criteria yet, we can't have speed cameras. So there's very little at the moment that they are prepared to do. But we need something to be done, so we're just going to keep having a go at them. And we've tried to get some publicity out of it recently, just to shout about it a little bit more. Not everybody likes it in the village, but it's a bit of a means to an end really, and that's why we're doing it.